so excited to be here. I really am. Because I'm really hopeful that I believe in y'all. I believe in what we can do.
Right. And I always want people to go away from something exactly like you were talking about, with an action that they can take, like a fire lit under them, so that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. And so I hope that we can talk about some of the projects that Rhyme Sayers has invested in various kinds of ways, not just invested in money, invested in time, invested in people. So where should we start to talk about that? You talked about Beats Overdose, which is really interesting.
Yeah, Beats Overdose is like a baby that's just growing up and continuing to live its life, and we're actually getting ready to do a whole nother run of shows this year. And you never know with someone who uses drugs that they don't get from a pharmacy, or they get from a pharmacy that's not in the States. It doesn't look like a thing. Like if you have an image in your mind of what somebody who takes drugs looks like, it's not right. It looks like all of us. It looks like me and you and everybody in this room. So I'm just gonna say, PSA, fentanyl's in the drug supply, have Narcan available. There are fentanyl test strips. They are cheap. The newest thing is xylazine, really scary because it's in the benzo family. Narcan doesn't work on it. They're cutting these drugs with fentanyl and xylazine, and with deadly consequences. So be safe and be careful, and have like real open conversations with people that you love.
So Beats Overdose is an active project right now. So what is the relationship of Rhyme Sayers to Beats Overdose?
Well, I sit on their board.
Oh.
I sit on the board of Beats Overdose. We help them with grant applications. We're always, Beats Overdose also, because Morgan was doing everything herself and never got a staff. She was like, I don't think I need a staff. But listen to her pivot. She was like, I don't think I need a staff because wherever I go, these other places spring up. And so as she's getting her doctorate in public health, we continue to partner out. So she continues to be a resource for who should we partner with in Tucson? Who should we partner with in Baltimore? And when we get new people who come in and want to, because now people know about it, they'll be like, I want to give out Narcan at Red Rocks. I'm like, okay, talk to Morgan. These harm reduction groups, they can be a little like pirates. It's great to have someone who speaks their language. Be like, yo, don't roll up to people. Let people roll up to you.
Yeah.
Don't get crazy with the venue staff. We're their guests. When I say it, they're like, fuck the machine. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to help you. But you still can't talk crazy to the venue staff. So it's great to have Morgan kind of help continue training other organizations, and continues to be an ongoing active partnership, even though she's not putting in the crazy hours she was in 21, 22.
Right. Are a lot of the projects that you work on that kind of responsive, not reactive, organically growing?
Yeah, everything is authentic and organic. It comes from a real place. We don't go out looking for it. We don't check a box. I don't know if you have this on your list, Lori, but one of the things that we're doing this year is we're sponsors of the Vixens, which is Minnesota's women's full tackle football team. And one of our staff members' sister played on the team last year. And his name's Darian. And Darian was like, yo, my sister plays for this team. Are we going to sponsor her? And I was like, let's see. So like, let's see what they're about. And they're owned by a former player. And we kick the tires. Because if you're gonna support something, you should know what you're supporting. Get in there and be like, man, this feels so Minnesota. I didn't know what it was gonna feel like. It felt so Minnesota. I went to their first game and it was like, variety of people with haircuts like my mom, and the cushions that go over the seats, and cowboy boots. And I was like, oh, this could be the state fair. Like, it's phenomenal. It was just the small pivot was that there were more families with girls, and it was more LGBTQ plus friendly. And I was like, yeah, we're in on all this. So we're sponsoring the team, and they have a very big game on Saturday. But it came to us extremely organically.
Yeah.
And when we look at that, we're like, oh, how can we use our leverage and our platform? What can we uniquely do? Because we're not Target. We don't have millions of dollars to throw around. It's like, oh, but Sean is into it. So we can increase awareness. We can drive our fans to this game. And if we get their average attendance up to 1,500, it's at 1,000 now, then the women who play in this league no longer have to pay for their own travel. So like, we have a real benchmark to hit. We have access to people in Minnesota, and that's one of the ways that we can use who we are, where we are, to like drive to this more equitable situation for these players.
So that's what you do. You land in that situation, you say, what is needed here? And what was needed in that situation was the attendance. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we're built for that. Like, if you can up the attendance to shows, if you have something people actually want to see, you can probably up the attendance too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exposure.
Yeah,
in that case.
It's all about being like, what are we uniquely suited to do? Because we can't do everything, but the things that we can do, like, think creatively and use our strengths.
So do you hit those OKRs and then you say, loved working with y'all?
Never.
Or is it a long relationship? So how do those long relationships go? Tell me about those.
Well, we have a variety of different kinds of partners. All of them come to us super organically. Some of them are larger, so they're going to be around. Some of them are smaller. That doesn't mean we shouldn't engage with them, but it does mean they may not be as around or as active. And so there's ebbs and flows. When you're working with nonprofits and people who are really subject matter experts on the thing they're trying to change, a lot of times they're living that thing they're trying to change. They're under a significant amount of stress. They're in it. They're in the work. And part of engaging with them is not expecting them to show up every day all buttoned up and ready to go, like they're not out here dealing with people who are actually overdosing, or they're not out here dealing with young people who are actually sleeping on the streets. Like, they do very human work. So we have to be very human in response and allow the ebbs and flows of those relationships. But for something like the Vixens, our hope is to be kind of like a bridge sponsor to them getting bigger sponsors. We're not big enough to like sponsor a professional sports team, but we can shine a light on that sports team to attract a little beacon. Come, Adidas. Come. You know, like, we want to bring the people who are genuinely aligned with them and can pour a lot more into them.
I love that what Rhymesayers does with artists to help them create sustainable careers is a bit what you're doing with these people who are maybe sometimes have excitement for the work that they're doing in the community, and you help them figure out how to make it sustainable.
To be honest, it's them. It's them, it's not us. Like, we're not figuring it out. But
you're helping them.
We're helping in our way. So the Vixens are a great example, because they came to us and were like, so we were wondering if you could do our halftime shows. And I was like, no. I was like, we also believe in transparency as much as we can be. So I was like, it's not that we wouldn't want to. It's that when you do a show in town by one of our like headline acts, then they can't perform before or after for a certain amount of time. Plus, that act can donate his time, but he's not empowered, or her time, but they are not empowered to donate all their staff's time. So it costs them a significant amount of money to put the show on. Additionally, there's a number of causes and people that are close to our hearts. And if they say yes once, then there's a lot of conversations we have to have about who got this and why. So that's just not how we engage. Not to mention the backline situation in the middle of a football field is like, it's live events, it's not how we're gonna engage. So once I was clear about that, they were like, oh, and I was like, but what can we do? And so sometimes being able to not just say no and be like, oh no, we're not interested, sorry, but be like, okay, so that we can't do.
Right.
But let's talk about what other possibilities are.
Right. One of the things that I have loved about all the time I've spent with you, we spent a little bit of time talking before this, is that there's this open, loving, compassionate dialogue that you have with people in order to figure out what the need is. And I love that you do that. It's not a hard no. I'm not cutting you off. We want to figure out, is there a path for us together?
You know, I'm still in the music industry, but not how I was when I was signed to Columbia. And one of the things I didn't like about being in the music industry proper was what does anybody mean? Like there's what they're saying, and then what do they mean? Because they never seemed to match up. And I want to have real conversations with people. And if I'm frustrated, I want to say I'm frustrated. And if I'm uncomfortable, I want to say, you know, I'm experiencing some discomfort. Can we talk about this part? And it does take some vulnerability. Not everybody wants to engage in that way, and I understand that. I don't think it's a blanket to throw civility out the door. Civility is important. Compassion is important. But to the extent that we're able to bring our true selves, which I think all of our true selves, we want the greater good. The greater good feels good, and it makes the world better. It's like, yeah, I'll take that one. It's like when healthy food tastes good. That's like the greatest good. Like that's what I want. And I'm going for that in all of our relationships. And our partners, our artist partners and our community partners, they help with that because they are real AF. They're not here to have the fake conversations. They're dealing with real world things. And so if you meet them with like this corporate speak, they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, no. And I love how they make me better and make us better as a company.
Right. You're coming from the heart. I feel that all the time when we talk together, that you're coming from the heart. And to balance that, the business mission that you've got, not just the OKRs, but you know, to be able to make enough money that you can make the difference in the world, and to make the difference in the world, because some people burn themselves out to make a difference. And to find that balance, that's a beautiful lesson for us to learn, because a lot of us are willing to burn ourselves out to make a difference.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because once you're burnt out, what then? It's much harder to relight a fire than it is to just be like, whoa, we're gonna slow burn it for a while.
Yeah.
So I've become more adept. I used to be a burnout queen. But I've become very adept at being like, look at these 8 things we could do. What are the most impactful 5? What 3 are gonna make my life miserable? Or what is like pie in the sky? Because people think that doing the most is doing the best. But those are not always the same. You want to be like, you know, a sun that burns for a long time, not like a star that burns out. Because we need the light. We need the sustained light. And that's one of my continued learnings is like, but is it sustainable?
That's a good lesson for all of us. If you're going to take something away, ask yourself not just what change can I make in the world, but what change can I make sustainably in the world, right? Yeah. So one of the things I was looking at when I had the pleasure of reading about a lot of the projects that you've got going on, that you've got different ways that you engage, in-kind donations, mentorship, fundraising, community programming. And I'm wondering if you can describe a little bit of the difference in the way you might engage with one project and another?
Yeah, so the Link is one of our partners. And the Link in Minnesota helps under-sheltered and under-resourced young people. And we engage with them in many different ways. So once a year, they have a gala, and we give them stuff. I save some of our best stuff, some of our most limited releases for their silent auction. And we don't give to every silent auction. We give to the Link silent auction, then we will drive our fans back from our social media to like, oh, you missed that MF Doom drop? Here's the custom blah, blah, blah. And really successful, in-kind donations, right? Mm-hmm. But we've also had staff activities where all of us get together and we cook a bunch of meals. Bright lights. We cook a bunch of meals and we donate those to the Link. It's one of the programs they have. For the past several years, we've done something called Adopt a Family with the Link, where we're the only company that does this, and it's ridiculous, and it's our CEO's fault. That this past Christmas, I was on my hands and knees scrubbing floors. We totally remade 3 bedrooms, like totally these kids' bedrooms, like from top to bottom, new mattresses, new everything. It's all our staff. It's our staff and our CEO, because I was like, we were only asked to buy presents. He's like, I think we can do more. And I knew when he said, I think we can do more, he's like, I knew what was under that is like, man, I'm about to be doing a whole lot more with our painters and contractors. That's one of the ways, right? Get involved.
It's such a different model. I mean, there's no way that you can, on a boardroom table, that you can think about, what should we do? Should we get down on our hands and knees and should we scrub?
We had painters and contractors out there, and before, a cool thing that happened is before we did this, we were talking to the mom, and she was like, well, what if y'all didn't do this and just helped us get caught up on our rent? Whew. Always got to look at the bottom line. I knew this last year, because when we did it last year, we got there with all these presents ready to like put new bedspreads on, and someone opened the refrigerator. As they were leaving, it was empty. It wasn't in the budget. Right thing to do. We stocked that. It was so you couldn't fit any more food in that kitchen before we left. And we didn't do it by just saying, let's buy them the healthiest food possible. No. We talked to mom and we were like, what do y'all want to eat? How can we, do you want to go shopping with us? What can we do? Like, how can we make this something? And it took us so much longer. We took them out to eat afterwards so that we could finish everything. But this was like another pivot like that. And the pivot allowed us to get them in touch with the program, and now their rent is sustainably paid. So our intervention, they got new rooms, but more importantly, they have a stable place to live. But that's not even where I was going with the Link. Because the other thing we do with the Link is that they have a shelter called Passageways for youth transitioning out of sex trafficking. And we developed a curriculum for them that got thrown out the window, because you go there and it's new youth every week, and they have their own things that they're listening to and their own projects and their agency, which is so important. And so we amped up the studio they have out there. We got them Splice, which is like a production, education, and software type situation. And then I would just go out every week to work with them for a couple hours on whatever they wanted to work on. I've given a lot of lessons. So before I got there, I don't want you to think they, sent someone unqualified. But it'd be like piano lessons or voice lessons, or we're doing poetry, or we're doing production, or we're learning how to work the studio. And so the way we engage is like, well, what's needed and what do we have? And then what is possible?
And what are you willing to do, too?
It's what are we willing to do, but we're willing to do things. We have like a matrix for it. Like, does it make sense? Is it sustainable? not only the intention, but what is the foreseeable impact? How long can we do it? What's the quality of the relationship? Can we build towards a good quality of relationship? Because for us to engage long-term, we have to be able to have real conversations.
Right.
And a lot of times if people come and they're like, yeah, but just cut the check, we're like, this probably isn't the right partnership for us. Because we need to be able to build deeper and to understand, like ask you, what are you actually doing? And for y'all to be able to come to us and say, you know, I don't appreciate that thing you did. You know, like we need to be able to have those conversations without it falling apart.
Yeah. That's such a healthy model that most of us don't get to engage in our lives.
Well,
there's a lot of self-awareness going on here. Do y'all work on that together?
Careful what you ask for, Dr. We do work on it together. Yeah. We do work on it together, but I also work on it alone.
Right. I guess part of the message I'm getting out of that is if you want to do this kind of work that's really responsive, you need to have been able to work on yourself so that you can be present with others.
Yeah, you've got a meditation practice is a big part of my life.
Same.
Yeah, mindfulness, meditation, having that awareness definitely changed my life, but is also in this position is something that I've really tried to infuse into the work that we do. Awareness, like we can't, in business it's so easy to be like, here's the goal, I'm going from here to here, and put on blinders, and you don't see what's happening around you, and you don't see how it's impacting the people around you, and you're like, I just have my goal, I just have my OKR, but it takes a spaciousness to just be aware. Like you have to have the space for it to be like, oh, other things are happening, other things are important, and so that's something that we definitely come back to again and again as an org, and that always be curious, our ABCs. We have a group, community partner, their nonprofit arm is called Affinity Healing Collective, but their for-profit arm is called Therapies, and it's a bunch of Black women therapists, one of which I had the pleasure of going to elementary school with and college with. But yeah, we bring them in. We bring them in, trauma-informed workplace, we bring them in to be like, there's a difference between being nice and being kind. You know, we bring them in all the time to help cultivate the awareness and to be able to help people hear things from an outside source.
Yeah, that's got to be a ripple effect that makes a huge change too.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely, it has to. The relationship with the link, it seems multifaceted. And that's a long-term, yeah.
And that's just the rhyme sayer side. Like our artists I work with our artists on their social responsibility as well. So year after year, Sean buying 24, 36 air mattresses for shelters. We have this isn't work that you'll hear about on our social impact page. We have a policy where we only share and post with our community partners when it can benefit them. So like when it's sharing our story, sure, but the second thing that it has to do is bring awareness and help further their goals. Particularly when it deals with young people, we share less. But yeah, Sean's heavy on that. And once you have a good relationship, it's like a friend, you know, you're like, do you want to go to dinner? Do you also want to go bowling? You know, like we can do multiple things.
If I can ask about other projects.
Let's go.
Okay, all right. So I was really interested looking at some of the past projects and also the present projects. Liberated Capital, Decolonizing Wealth.
Yes.
That is so interesting. And there have been some projects here locally in Salt Lake that have done similar things in South Salt Lake in particular. I'm interested to hear about that project and what Rhyme Sayers is doing with that project.
Oh, so I love Decolonizing Wealth. I love the Liberated Capital Giving Circle. Not only do they do amazing, amazing work all over the place, but they solved a big problem for us organizationally. So starting in 2020, everybody was on mutual aid. I would get all these requests.
Mm-hmm.
You have money, cash at me this, cash at me that. I'm buying water. Send me $100 to $ where's my money? And I was like, I can't vet all these orgs.
Mm-hmm.
And we really had to sit with it and be like, are we even the right people to vet these orgs? Are we even the people most qualified to decide which people should be getting money? It becomes like a game of favorites, and then there are people who really do this work.
Mm-hmm.
And the people we found that really do this work, that give untethered funding all over the country, that's deeply rooted and deeply intentional, is Decolonizing Wealth, Liberated Capital. And now, when people come to me and are like, we need $500, I'm like, wonderful, let me direct you to.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they give micro grants all throughout the year.
And they're good at it.
They're very good at it.
Yeah.
Now, George Floyd, Minneapolis,
Okay.
all this money came into the city. Everybody opened the GoFundMe, and there were all these, and we had some nonprofits that previously had like 2 staff members and a budget of $10,000 a year get $35 million in donations. I can't really fault them for not being ready.
Right.
I can't fault them for not having the infrastructure. Like, what would prepare them for something like that? And then people want to hold them accountable for how they're spending this money that they never, like, it's a skill managing a budget that size. Please don't give it to me. Anyone who's trying to give me $35 million, let's just keep it to 1. Vetting these organizations and tracking it, and where does it go, and what is the impact? We don't have the capacity for that. Most record labels, they don't have someone in my position. And if they do, they're in the marketing department, because they're about telling and showing more than they are about the doing. I love marketing departments, like no shade to my counterparts in marketing, but I love that my role didn't originate in that way. My role originated with no marketing component at all. So I think having the confidence, people don't like to give away money and not know where it's going. When we give away money to Decolonizing Wealth, we don't know where it's going to end up. But we trust them to do that work. And it's what we did instead of starting Rhyme Sayers Gives Back or Rhyme Sayers Foundation. We were going to start our own nonprofit. We were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's people who are better at this. We're good at this. They're good at that. So them and Third Wave Fund are both what I call our social investments. Third Wave Fund, gender justice, led by the people that is serving, have a bunch of crazy great programs, have youth in the leadership, have a sex workers giving circle, they do a lot of transformative work as well.
As you're talking about this and how other labels do it differently, I'm wondering if the way Rhyme Sayers engages with others who are doing work out in the world, have you noticed that other labels are trying to change how they're engaging?
I would say that Rock Nation is doing a ton of amazing work when it comes to the criminal justice system, criminal justice reform, police brutality. I don't even want to say victim advocacy, but advocacy for people who have had encounters with the criminal justice system and really throwing their weight around there to great effect, So I think there is something happening, something continuing to happen, because we're not the first. There's lots of, we started in time before social media. So there's a lot of
30
students.
years. You're 30 years in.
Yes.
You aren't personally, but
I mean, almost, yes. I really did know them when they were starting this label. So I remember being in Fifth Element, which was the record store when I was really little, and Sean worked at the record store. And I'd be there with my big sister who worked the door for them, and he would come over and he would just scare me. Like he would just be doing something else and then just turn around and like say, ah, and I'd jump. And I didn't see him for maybe like 10 years. And at a show in Philly, I was like, I don't know if he'll remember me. And Felipe from Los Nativos, another one of our groups, was like, he'll remember you. Come on upstairs. And I went. He said, I remember you. I used to make you mad. I was like, but I really have been around since like the beginning. All that to say, a lot of good things happen that we don't have documentation for. And so I believe that labels have done it. I believe it just hasn't been documented and shared, which is part of us documenting and sharing it so that it doesn't get lost and we don't have to reinvent the wheel, that we can just take it further.
more doing it in other places, not just in the Minnesota area?
We do it in other places as well.
I would like to ask about that. It seems like a lot's going on in Denver.
Denver. Yeah, well, Red Rocks is in Denver. Denver is a stronghold for us because of our fan base. We don't choose our fans choose us. And we were fortunate enough to have played Red Rocks for the last, I think, like 25, 26 years. And you get a cool little thing when you sell it out, like a cool little trophy. And I have not received one, but I've seen many that the guys have received, and it is a testament to be able to do that after a decade's end. It's pretty crazy.
I think I counted 3 projects in Denver.
Oh, for Liberated Capital?
Well, not just Liberated Capital. I didn't. Some of them are the Over the Years projects, so maybe they weren't projects. But
the Over the Years section was what happened when I took all our receipts from all the years, and I was like, I'm only going to post things we have actual.
Okay.
I say receipts, but I mean like a paper trail, like confirmation, like. So those were a lot of times projects that predated me in this seat.
Right. Okay. So it isn't that there's necessarily a tight relationship with Denver. I mean.
Oh, there is.
There is.
There is a tight relationship with Denver. We're there multiple times a year. Yeah, there's.
Your fans are there. Your fans are pulling you into the projects in their area.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like
fans are telling you, I've got something going on here. You need to be looking at this.
I mean, I told you Sean was just in his DMs, and then we gave away this
Yeah,
Narcan. Like
right.
that's how it works.
You probably can't tell me about anything that's developing. Do you see interesting things coming up that you could talk to us about?
No. No.
Okay, you can only talk about what's there already.
Yeah.
There's a lot of privacy concerns. I can see why that would be.
Yeah, we got to keep people. It's not just about our comfort.
Right. No, it's.
We got to protect the work.
So a lot of the staff are spending their time. So these things have to be interesting to the staff. I mean, the staff. It doesn't look like the staff are being compelled to spend their time. They're just like, yeah, I want to do that too.
Yeah, that's also my impression. I had to think about that for a minute because I was like, I don't get like resist. They're always like, yeah, like let's do it for sure. But if they were to not do that, I would be like, yes, we are.
Oh, okay. There's a little bit of pressure.
Well, I've never had to apply pressure, but it's the reason I say that is because I'm not asking our staff to volunteer. It's
their job.
Correct. These are company resources. I'm not asking them to work over 40 hours a week. Mm-hmm. If you're a graphic designer that we employ and you're working 40 hours on a number of projects and this is one of your projects, I don't expect you to, you would not have the opportunity to turn away one of our artist projects. You're not going to have an opportunity to turn this away. Mm-hmm. because this is who we are. So you can't opt out of who we are.
That's right. You must have a line of people wanting to work there. I kind of want to get in line. I bet I'm not the only one who's like, wow, I want a job like that.
I mean, the benefits are crazy, right?
Yeah.
That time off is pretty crazy. As much time off as we give, we actually never have people run out. People don't use all of it. I think just knowing that it's there, you don't have that feeling of scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And I say paid time off, and it is, but you can take it for absolutely anything. You can take it for mental health breaks. You can take it for, families in town. You can take it for menopause care. We have a whole list of things that we're like, hey, any of these things? PTO.
A whole lot of people are here because they care about music and the way music can change the world. And this is such an interesting way to use music to change the world. Do you see? Well, I want to ask you about where it's going, but I know I can't do that.
I can tell you my hopes.
Okay, tell me that.
My hopes are that we continue to find unique ways to exponentially amplify the work of the organizations we're in a place to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we just fine-tune, become better and better at finding those places in the business and connecting with orgs in a way that makes sense and just makes it about them. Just makes it, I want nonprofits who do music projects to have access to the same level of operational stability that we have. I want us to get involved in that kind of structural work that doesn't just, mend a fence, but really build a bridge.
Yeah. May I ask you, I know that we've got a little bit left, like about 20 minutes left. What would you think of taking a few questions? Because there might be a few bubbling up. Would
Yes.
that be okay?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So is there anyone here who'd like to ask Nikki Jean any?
So yeah, if anybody's got any questions they'd like to ask, I've got the roving mic. Okay, we'll start with Oz.
What up, Oz?
What up for Lake Minnetonka?
Hey!
Not too many people in the room know that reference.
I was like, is that the whole question?
No, actually it's more of a thank you. This is what Narcan looks like. It fits in a tiny purse, a pocket, a briefcase, or anything at all. And this can save a life. And I've also been the privilege of being a foster parent here in Utah, and also a foster parent in New York City at the time where HIV babies were not even touched or held. So I've had my journey in the foster care system. It's challenging, but more so than that, it's greatly rewarding. We end up adopting 2 of those former HIV babies.
Thank you.
My family did.
Thank you. It could be you. I just want to say, if you want more information on that organization, Foster More, please come see me. I have all their email addresses right here. They make it super easy. You're not alone, can walk you through it, and you can have beautiful outcomes, truly.
I have a question. Early in your talk, you mentioned about the importance of private business supporting nonprofits. And so with current administrative changes, have you seen changes in what government is doing? And do you see a role for private businesses in your world to fill in for what government is maybe stopping right now or neglecting to do?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Short answer, yes. I know so many people who work in the space whose funding was cut. Funding to their doctorates cut, research cut. Can't even say the name of their research projects anymore. And then there's, you know, the arts are really interesting. Not so much. Here's the beautiful thing about having a for-profit business. We're still, you know, suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, but we don't suffer as many of the slings and arrows of public funding. So our stability, or relative stability in these moments, allows us the solid footing to pour into some places and people and projects that have been defunded, and to work with them creatively. I think times like this are definitely a reminder. I used to work with this organization called Samburu Girls Foundation, and I was at this conference that was in La Jolla. It was very, very fancy people, and there was a venture capitalist, and I was telling them about this org, and he was like, your nonprofit needs a job. And I was so offended. But when I thought about it, I was like, you know, it's not the worst thing. It's that God bless the child that has its own type mentality. So I think now is an opportunity for us to really partner with some more, some orgs that have, in groups, projects that have been more closely dependent on that funding, and work with them to become more sustainable and have more agency over their future.
Oh, thanks you very much for being here. First, just a shout out, Atmosphere, Lupe Fiasco, The Far Side, and
Hey.
Cypress Hill are playing
Hey.
Salt Lake in August. So,
Hey,
come
through.
And I guess the question is, when making a decision to go out with the artists and teaming up with somebody like Cypress Hill or a smaller headlining run, or what goes into that conversation and decisions?
lots.
And is the social change and justice factor, how much of that is in that conversation, or is it?
Nope,
Yeah.
nope. Not from my perspective, because, not from my seat, I should say, because we're a record label. A lot of times people think the artists are like employees. They're not. We work with them to put out their music in physical and digital forms, in their soft goods and their merch. We don't tell them what to do. We don't tell them who they can and who they can't work with. What we say is like, we will or we won't put it out. Now we have a department that's live events, Atmosphere Touring, kind of a separate thing. And Sean is unique as an artist in the sense that he can really steer his own ship. So he's thinking about a lot of things. He cares so deeply and has a real community in terms of his fan base. And he's like, who will they enjoy? Who will I enjoy? I gotta be on the road with them. And I'm sharing, the most valuable thing I think an artist can share with another artist is their fan base. Like, wow, that's the lifeblood, that's the sustaining thing that keeps the income coming in, and I'm gonna share it with you. So he thinks like, are these people that I wanna do that with, and do they also wanna do that with me in a way that's cool? Does it make sense? Can this combined bill fill these venues? How's the scheduling? How are the costs? Are we losing money or are we making money? One is obviously preferable to the other. So like a lot of those logistics go in, but I'm fortunate to work with really thoughtful artists. So there's 100% artists that Atmosphere would be like, I'm not going out with them, tripping.
Let's talk about the ugly business, right? So when you work with your artists, it's this collaboration, do you also work to help them or give them tools to develop their own side of the business? Because not every artist is a business person, but you put out music, you gotta mind the dollars.
Help me understand your question more.
They don't work for you, so they have their own business side. How many of them are ready to do that? Do you help them explore that or provide some resources to get there?
So it's very dependent on the situation. Obviously, you have an artist like Atmosphere who's been doing this since the label was born. We're a part of their team. Rhymesayers as a business has a bunch of Rhymesayers is like a conglomeration of side hustles. There's like the label, and there's our live events, and then there's a management portion. So if we manage the artist, then we're obviously like deeper involved. Then for some artists like A$AP Rock or MF Doom Estate, we will help them identify business managers. It's all about like where you are in your career. Someone who's just starting out as an artist needs something very different than someone who's been doing it 20, 30 years. And then there's a reality that not every artist that you try and break will break. No one can do that if, as an artist, right? No one can fix that for you. Like, it's just a reality. It's something that you can be more or less prepared for, but no one can like fix it. It's just a thing that happens. There have been times in the label's history where the label's been like, okay, we got an option to, which means, I mean, it means what it sounds like. We have an option to put out a new project, but we're not going to take that. We're not going to take that option. They'll be like, oh, sad, because I wanted to release another record with you, and you're saying you won't release another record with me. And they're like, but we're going to do our best to set you up to release it yourself, because you will make more money releasing it yourself than you will if we do it. So there is and we have had artists like come beyond the label, leave the label, and have successful careers afterwards because they weren't splitting their money with us. They had learned enough to be able to do it themselves, self-release. Did I answer your question?
You mentioned earlier, just a slight pass, about having a trauma-informed lens. And I don't think it's a secret that the music industry has a decades-long history of abuse that happens in the industry. And I was wondering how you include that trauma-informed lens as a process of having that sustainable social responsibility as you go through your work.
I'm sorry, can you just say it again like I'm 2 years old?
No, it's totally fine. When you're talking about having trauma information as part of your work, how do you see that working in the sustainable quality of what you do? Not just thinking about, oh, we're being socially responsible, but we're also taking into account how trauma affects artists and what they do and how they engage with the industry.
Right. Great question. Thank you. So much humanity. So much humanity. When we started, 2020 drove us into, we needed to have an understanding of what it was to be trauma-informed because the whole city was traumatized. And sometimes things would be right in your face, sometimes they'd come out sideways. And that really pressurized situation, and the quiet, juxtaposed against the quiet of the pandemic, allowed people to hear and see things within themselves that maybe had been there for a long time, but it just had the space kind of like emerge, be like, what is that? A sacred time, really beautiful time, a really painful time. One of the things for us is like, once you see something, you can't unsee it. So there's zero chance that we'll forget. But I think cultivating awareness, that's what keeps it. That's what makes it sustainable. That's what keeps it grounded in reality and allows it to evolve and grow and change as we grow and change. But just, that can't be a one and done thing. That has to be a daily thing of cultivating awareness. Who's in the room, who's not in the room. And when things, I always say, like, come out sideways. I'll be working with people and all of a sudden I'll get like a response that just seems maybe disproportionate or I don't understand it. And I'm like, what's that? And be like, oh. I don't have to ask all the time because people don't always want to talk about their stuff. But just the awareness that there could be more going on. And sometimes it looks like this. And sometimes it looks like that. And trying to have that, not just the institutional memory, but like a process of writing it down and learning. Not just trying to learn it like a grandmother's recipe and then 20 years later, does anyone remember how grandma made? But to really like capture it so that we can return to it, that we can return to the lesson.
Hey.
Mr. Rollins, is that you?
What's that?
Is that you, Mr. Rollins?
No.
No. You saw the 930 t-shirt. I was like,
I know.
It's like, I think I read your book.
I wish. So I'm thinking about, the art form of the music. We've got a label, socially conscious hip hop. There's that larger umbrella of things. You're working as social responsibility within a business, right? So it's somewhat disconnected from the art that's made by the actual artist, right? So are you, the idea of, again, socially conscious hip hop and the idea of using words and art for doing something good, do you find sometimes there's more of a connection with particular projects of your artists that help drive your needs to actually do good? And I'm thinking for me, like, okay, I'm just gonna out myself, I'm alcoholic. Hair off of God Loves Ugly is important to me because that song shook my world, right? And it made me think about things. And it set something in line that went wrong. So I connected with the art, but you've got the business using the money to do your things. So do you find sometimes that the art particular projects that you can connect to advance your agenda? Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yes, and sometimes, and I have a good example of that, but I just want to say up front, I don't believe in socially conscious hip hop.
Right, fair.
I know too many rappers. It's not it's a branding.
Yeah,
it's not a real thing. All we have is like flawed humans like all the rest of us who are making their own thing, and somebody puts a label on it so that it can be like other like items, But once in a while it happens. A$AP Rock had an album, Garbology. I was like, this is great. Garbage, recycling, the environment, let's do something cool. It said, well, I like to do my social responsibility through skateboarding. And I was like, okay. So I started like Googling, because we're real fancy. I started Googling like making skateboards out of things, and he was like, all those skateboards are garbage. I was like, Garbology is there? And then he came back to me and was like, let's turn a rundown tennis court into a skate park. Scope, right size the idea. I was like, that is a great idea. And then I got off the phone, I was like, we are not doing that. What can we do that's adjacent to that? Like, starting a skate park involves so many people and so much money and sustainability. Like, who's gonna run the skate park? I start a skate park, who's gonna run the skate park? And then yeah, who's liable for that? Also, because we're a business. Someone break their leg at the skate park tennis court, like, now we're out of, I was like, okay. Found a nonprofit already collaborating with a For the People group in Dayton, Ohio. They were doing exactly what ASOP wanted to do. They were turning the old tennis court into a skate park. They were already in motion. They'd already gotten approval from the municipalities involved. They already had nonprofit status, which was great for us. I looked at other projects, but I love this project because it was in Dayton, Ohio. Now, we don't have a huge fan base in Dayton, Ohio, but the impact we can have there versus the impact that we could have in Portland was night and day. So, make contact with this place. It's like, yeah, so we thought, maybe we could do something. And they were like, we need $5,000. And I was like, okay, $5,000, that's doable. Like, we could just do that. And they were like, we need $35,000. I was like, okay. So what we did is we had ASOP. I called Lupe, both skater aficionados. They made a song called Pumpkin Seeds. Why, I don't know. This is what they do. Called Pumpkin Seeds. And through that song, we raised the money, and we have 2 skate parks flourishing in Dayton, Ohio. So sometimes they work together. A lot of times they don't. Sean's music is almost never about, is almost never about overdoses, even though we've been touched by overdose as a label. But he definitely was like, yo, I want that to continue. I was like, heard, chef, let's go. Yeah.
So I'm keeping my eye on the time, and it's time for us to wrap up. Anything else you want to say before we do?
I just appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all taking the time and the space and saying that this is important, this is where you want to be. And I know it's an investment in great things to come. So I'm grateful for that intention, and I believe in y'all. Go get it.